Theranos. The 19-year-old Elizabeth Holmes was the youngest self-made billionaire before her world came crumbling down. After dropping out of Stanford University, she managed to create Theranos, a company set out to revolutionize healthcare by making blood testing procedures cheaper and more convenient. Holmes was able to secure high-profile investors like Rupert Murdoch and acquired $70 million. After a few years of funding, Theranos had raised $45 million by selling equity options and warrants. The company was later valued at $1 billion in late 2010. Theranos expands an employee count of 800 and makes huge deals with important corporations like Walgreens, which is a major American pharmaceutical company. After the company's peak value of $9 billion, things take a turn for Theranos after an employee leaks information to the Wall Street Journal, which later is published in John Kerry's in-depth expose on the company. How did Theranos, the $9 billion organization, fall? How did Elizabeth Holmes, the young, talented, and intelligent engineer, go from holding an important position in medical discovery and being considered by many the new and improved Steve Jobs to being infamous for committing massive fraud and letting down the scientific world? The rise of Theranos. As you know, Theranos was a blood testing company founded by Holmes. And its goal was to revolutionize science and medicine. How could Theranos do this, you might ask? Theranos claimed it could take microscopic samples of people's blood from just the prick of a finger and use a small amount of blood to perform a series of different blood tests. The machine that made this possible was the Edison, which could run for a cheaper price and at faster speeds than currently possible. Theranos' costs were 90% lower than Medicare rates, an opposing competitor, and was groundbreaking for the U.S. healthcare system. Theranos, as Holmes stated time and time again, would change the world for the better. However, this proved not to be true when on October 14, 2015, Holmes' world would turn upside down. An article written by journalist John Kerry from the Wall Street Journal issued an article exposing Theranos, the $9 billion company, and exposing that it was most definitely a fraud and that its technology was flawed. Even Holmes' inability to explain her own technology was a telltale sign that Theranos wouldn't be around for much longer. A summary of the scandal. What was the fraud? To summarize the scandal in the simplest of words is that the company didn't exist and couldn't provide the services promised. She committed many different offenses, which we will later touch upon, like wire fraud, accounting fraud, lying to investors, refusing to hand out financial statements, and most importantly, was able to find a loophole in order to stop the FDA, Food and Drug Association, from inspecting its inventions. Elizabeth Holmes and her boyfriend Sunny Balwani were responsible for multiple different offenses, including both wire fraud and accounting fraud, on top of defrauding investors. As you know, Theranos' main purpose was to revolutionize blood testing. However, after numerous attacks from the Wall Street Journal in early and late 2015, it was revealed that most of its tests that Theranos claimed to be doing with the machines were being carried out by other traditional machines bought from other companies. When the company's own devices, including Edison, were used for testing a patient's blood, the tests were 92% inaccurate and caused serious damage to anyone who depended on the test. Holmes and Balwani were accused of misleading the public and that Theranos investors by promoting devices and tests that she knew was not capable of working and that it could endanger lives. Elizabeth Holmes was known to chase down several different investors and even her own employees who doubted her new blood testing machines and made sure that they walked away believing her. Holmes also raised more than $70 million from investors through what John Kerry called an elaborate years-long fraud in which they exaggerated and made false statements about the company's technology, business, and financial performance. Elizabeth Holmes rarely gave out financial statements, and when she was forced to, she created fake financial statements, which were ultimately given to the investors. Some accounting fraud that was uncovered after the scandal was that Theranos had claimed that the U.S. Department of Defense was using its products on the battlefield in Afghanistan. Theranos claimed that it was able to bring in more than $100 million in revenue. The reality is that Theranos technology was never deployed by the U.S. Department of Defense and generated over $100,000 in revenue. They were able to do so by faking their sold inventory, and purchased account, and then as a result were able to fake the total revenues. Holmes and her boyfriend are now accused by the SEC of 2 counts of conspiracy to commit wire fraud and 9 counts of wire fraud and must pay a $500,000 fine each. So how was Holmes able to hide the improprieties without being caught?